I remember coming to Franklin Institute before. At the same time, I never had a childhood. So where I am right now in my life, I'm able to really see how important it is for a child to receive love, support, nurturance, and guidance from their parents. I mean, it's paramount. It's natural. The state my community lives in right now is so unnatural. It's so destructive. So when I look back at my childhood, I didn't have a childhood. That was taken away from me. At the same time, me not having a childhood helped create the artist I am today. So obviously, it's purpose in the pain. At the same time, as a pain you still have to live with. My mother and father not raising me. My mother being an addict. And the way I see it, my mother became an addict based on her parents and however they fought or whatever it was, and some of the stories I hear with my mother. So her not receiving the proper love, guidance, nutrients, nutrients and nurturance and support in her gifts, because they said she was reading a newspaper at 2 years old, my mother. They said she was genius at 2 years old, reading a newspaper and stuff like that. Her not receiving the natural love, support, care, nurturance, and nutrients, and all those things that a child requires leads to addictions and leads to a child seeking attention outside the home. So, my mother transitioned in '96. Rest in peace, rest in power, rest in heaven. Linda Joyce Houston. She's an ancestor now. So, I've learned through life to still honor my mother and still, even honor my father. He's still living, but he never was a father. At the same time, I don't even know my father's story. I don't even know why he is the way he is. I don't even know my grandfather. From my father, his father. I don't even know who my grandfather is or was, or I don't even think I ever met him. How can I say? This kind of brokenness in the family structure is a lot of the reasons why there's so much brokenness in the community I come from. At the same time, it has a root. And pretty much a lot of it has a root in slavery and racism in this country and things of that nature. So with all those things and, seeing my mother and father, naturally I knew what not to be. I'm like, all right, I see how their lives turn out. And from my mother, I'm the middle of 7 children. So I'm like, yo, it was always something inside of me, first of all. Even going through all that, I always had certain people come into my life and say things that kept me focused on knowing that I was more than where I came from. I was more than that environment. I was so much more than the hand that was dealt to me. I was so much more than a trauma and traumatic experiences that I had as a child that took my childhood away. It really all started when I went to jail in 2003. And the reason why I went to jail is because of something I did in '96, which was a breaking and entering. And I was 17 when I committed the crime, and I was convicted at 18, so it put a felony on my name. And I had to pay restitution and fees. And based on already not having a childhood and coming up the way I came up, I was already not a responsible adult based on that. And so I never paid the restitution of fees. I just was irresponsible, which is natural when you come from the environment I come from, where you didn't have the support system, period. So I was working at Ross in South Philly, and I was a security guard. And yeah, the story is funny, some funny shit. The manager at that time was like, yo, can you stay after the store closed and leave with everybody else? Because normally, once the store is closed, I can leave. But for some reason this night, he wanted me to stay, until everybody left the store. So I said, all right, whatever. And I pulled up a chair in one of the aisles and went to sleep. I was like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. So I wake up and the motion sensors go off in the store. So basically, they lock me in the store, and now the motion sensors are going off. So now, not too long after, the cops come. So, I'm like, oh shit, the cops gonna come. I'm in the store, and I already know that they're gonna think I'm in there trying to do some robbery shit. So when the cops come, they acting all tough, arrogant. This South Philly, these Italian cops. So they probably, in South Philly, especially close to the area I was in, is their grace period. So it's always been like a tension between the races. So, the cops already acting like, what you doing and all this. So I'm already coming off arrogant, because this is where I'm coming off arrogant too. This is where I work. And you're not just gonna come in here and think I'm in here trying to steal or some shit like that. So that leads to them running my name and finding a bench warrant out on me from Montgomery County for not paying the restitution and fees for the case from '96. So they locked me up and hold me in a cell right there at Wolf Street until the next day, where the sheriff from Montgomery County come and get me, and now I gotta go to the county jail. And so, at the time I was doing my thing. I was being responsible. I had a room. It was a good room. It was a great situation for me, because I was living on my own, doing my thing. And I was living out Yadin at the time. That's near 69th Street. I was on Church Lane. So now I go to the county. I'm in jail.